Hi guys, welcome back to the StudyTube project. My name's Ella, I'm a second year psychology student and I'm really excited to be sharing my first video with you guys today. I love all things conspiracy theory and psychological, so today I thought I'd talk about the study involved in the Netflix show 3 Identical Strangers. Before I begin, I highly recommend watching it on Netflix. It's a really good documentary and it does go into a lot of detail, but since it is such a controversial study, I really wanted to talk about it and share it with you guys today. So let's get on into the video. Back in the 1970s, a college student named Bobby arrived at a new school, but he soon noticed that his classmates and the people around him were acting quite strange, as if they already knew him. One of the classmates that Bobby met actually questioned him about his birth story and told him that he was certain that he was related to a friend of his. Fast forward, Bobby and this friend named Eddie meet up, and it turns out that they are not only related but are identical twins. The news go absolutely wild, and following hundreds of news articles, someone else appears named David and claims that he is also related. All of their information was checked and it was found that they were indeed identical triplets. They were born at the same time in the same area in New York and were later put up for adoption at the Louise Wise Services Adoption Center. Looking into the families that the 3 children were brought up, they were all very different based on the parenting styles and socio-economic backgrounds, but one thing that they all had in common was that the parents had previously adopted. A really interesting thing was that Bobby, Eddie and David all had recollections back from when they were a toddler about visits from psychologists testing them on different abilities such as their cognitive abilities and their mental health. The parents were wrongly told that this was just standard testing. Here is where the story becomes really interesting. It was soon realised that the tests the toddlers endured, as well as the actual separation at birth, was all for a scientific study that the parents were not made aware of. It was found that these children were to be given to these specific families based on a number of different things. The documentary explains that this was all done unethically to see the difference between nature versus nurture. And based on knowledge of the families, a key theory that the triplets believe is that they were involuntarily studied to see who would mentally excel and who would fall behind. They claim to this day that the psychologists wanted to see how the difference between the parents and the families would negatively affect their mental health. And unfortunately, one of the triplets did in fact commit suicide. Now these were all theories, but eventually the adoption centre did actually admit that they were part of a scientific study. However, they refused to tell them of the study's aims and methods and the results. Not only were the triplets and their families unethically studied on, but it turned out that hundreds of twins and triplets were also part of the study, many to this day not knowing. To this day, the triplets are still fighting to see the study's aims and results and also see the video clips in which they were tested on. However, the main psychologist in charge of this study passed away, and he ensured that the study's aims were kept under lock and key at Yale University until 2065. And so unfortunately this is all we and the triplets will know about until 2065, when most likely they will have passed on. So that is the basic explanation of the study behind the Netflix show 3 Identical Strangers. Let me know down below if you guys have seen the show and what you thought about it and any theories that you believe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe down below to the StudyTube project on YouTube and give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!